We checked our emails. We were contacted late the night before when it was already too late for us as people who don't live in the city area. We traveled quite a ways to get there. We couldn't reschedule. Hi, I'm Sydney. Welcome to my Flock and Squawk, and today I'm going to be talking about the Stranger Things experience, which I attended the one in Seattle, which is quite a ways away from me, but it was the closest one that I could attend. I paid right around $130 for my ticket because I got VIP, and so I'm just going to talk about the experience. I will not be spoiling the actual interactive part itself, but I will be sharing pictures, images, video, whatnot of the end themed area, which you were allowed to take photos, video, so on and so forth. I will talk about the experience in terms of in a way that is not going to ruin it for you. So if you want to go or you are going to be attending, it will not be spoiling the actual content of what you are paying for, essentially. I will be discussing some of the things I have around me. I have these things, and just sort of going over what I thought of it. So I paid for VIP, which meant that I got a tote bag with a collectible, and I also was eligible to get a free drink. So these are the commemorative cups that they were $5, but your free drink did come with one. So I went with Connor, so we each had 2 drinks, so we ended up getting 2 cups. Our tote bag is just sort of a standard plain tote bag. On the one side it is Stranger Things experience, on the other it is this artwork of the characters. So I think that's pretty cool. It does have the Demogorgon, and it looks like the crowd of people going through the experience. And then here is our wristbands. So when you first get into the experience, you check in, you get your badge, and then you get lined up in a group, you get your wristbands. So they have 3 colored wristbands. Connor and I both ended up in the yellow group, and that it doesn't change your experience itself, but it just is how they sort of split one large group that's all going through together into 3 separate groups. So there was yellow, red, and blue. Like I said, it doesn't really change the experience, it just sort of allows them to have a larger group go through all at once. So in each little colored band group, I'd say there was probably 15 people, 15 times 3, going through all at once, but with the different wristband system. And then from each colored group, they picked one person to be the leader of that color. But here is what the badge looks like, and it has the Hawkins Sleep Study lanyard. It is sort of a pseudo breakaway. It does breakaway at the back, clips on at the front, has the little clip for if you want to use it. And at the bottom here, it had 2 tabs that you could break away, one for the drink and one for the tote bag and the collectible. So that way, when you got to the end, you could just exchange those for that. General admission did not have the free drink or tote bag as far as I was seeing or am aware, because we did pay extra for that. So our collectible that came in the tote bag at the end is this. It is a little speaker. You can use it as a selfie remote. You can connect multiple together. It's just like a little speaker, little thing, and it happens to be Stranger Things themed, so this is Dustin. Connor also ended up getting the same one. So, like I said, you line up, you get your badge, you go in, You get lined up into a different group with the wristbands, and then you go through the experience. It's about a 45-minute experience altogether, but it didn't necessarily feel that long. They kept things moving. There was a lot of flashing lights and loud noises, so that is something that definitely needs to be taken into account depending on your needs or those needs of the group. But there was always a staff member in every area that you went into. So if you needed to go or you needed someone to help you, you could go to them and go to a quieter place, go to a non-flashing, leave the experience early. So there was that available. None of the people in our group that I am aware of needed that. But honestly, it was just Connor and I going to enjoy it as a group. We didn't necessarily know anyone else participating in it. It seemed like Connor and I were the only two adults that didn't have children necessarily. Most of the people in our group, granted we did pick an earlier time, we picked like 1:30, were parents and their younger teen children. So I'd say the age range was probably 13 and up, but mostly it was like 13-year-olds, their parents, and then Connor and I. As we hung out at the end, where you can just sort of mingle, roam around, it seemed like the age range got older the longer we stayed. We ended up leaving the actual thing about 3:40, 4 o'clock. So as it got later, you saw more and more adults our age, which is about, I'm 24 to probably closer to 30. So that was sort of the age range. That was kind of the experience. It was really cool. There was a 3D section where they gave you the 3D glasses to, better interact, have that feeling of being in the moment. It definitely did not feel like 45 minutes, but it actually was. Then after the whole experience, you are in this beautiful area. I'll show all the pictures, where there is the Scoops ice cream shop. There is a big Stranger Things logo that you can take pictures with. There was a photo booth. There was all the merch. They had some merch that is available all the time. They had some merch that was exclusive. And then they had their food and drink vendors, all of that. So overall, the experience was a lot of fun, but in this ending part is where some of the disappointment comes in. So first off, we had paid extra for a free drink and all of that, and Instagram had advertised all of these amazing drinks. They had advertised pizza, they advertised all this stuff. When we got there, they actually said that they were having an issue with their food licensing, so they could only offer prepackaged food and drink. So it was very disappointing to get there and be like, oh, well, we don't have lunch. We can get a bag of chips. We can get, prepackaged snacks and a Coke, which, a Coke is pretty cheap still. Like, just a can of soda is not anything special, especially on Instagram when they're showing these amazing, larger-than-life cocktail, mocktail drinks, and they're showing pizza, which, yeah, pizza's not the most exciting, but still we hadn't eaten lunch because we were anticipating that. And when we had talked to the guy, he's like, yeah, there was an issue, you should have been contacted. We checked our emails, we were contacted late the night before, when it was already too late for us as people who don't live in the city area, who traveled quite a ways to get there. We couldn't reschedule. getting an email the night before is not long enough for us. For some people it probably was, and they probably rescheduled, or maybe they didn't care because they didn't pay for VIP. But we paid for VIP with the anticipation that we would have like Scoops Ahoy ice cream, and that we would be able to have a cocktail or mocktail. Also, something we didn't realize when we had scheduled was that it was the same day as a baseball game. So luckily we didn't have the concern of actually parking in Seattle near the thing, because we were able to just walk the city once we got to a certain point. We parked and walked. But had we driven all the way to the specific site of this on Occidental, it would have been $50+ for parking and competing for a space with everyone coming for the baseball game. Luckily, we had the thought of, we'll park here and then be able to take public transport and walk the rest of the way. It was quite a bit of a ways to walk, but Connor and I are both physically capable of walking that, and we did. We walked around all day outside of the Stranger Things. So that's something to be taking into consideration if you are doing the one in Seattle. It's right next to the stadium. So not being able to rebook definitely made the experience kind of disappointing, in terms of there was no food and drink that we were advertised we were promised. And given that the email was so late, there was nothing we could do about it. I'm sure there are others who were able to reschedule. Also, another disappointment was that they had the exclusive merch. The exclusive merch, one of the items was Eddie's denim vest with this beautiful sort of painting on the back of Eddie with the fire and all of that. They only had up to a size large. We were there on one of the first weekends, one of the, midday, and they didn't have a larger size than large, which for me, like someone who is smaller framed or like a child, that wouldn't be an issue. But Connor was not able to fit a large. It would fit on, but it wouldn't be able to ever button up, which that's a pretty big disappointment when you are potentially paying $160 for an item. You would want it to fit exactly as you would like it to, as opposed to having to make that sort of compromise. So we didn't end up getting the best. They also had some really cool roller rink themed jacket shorts, which were sold separately, which I think is fine. But again, the jacket was like $150, and it wasn't the best feeling quality material. Other than that, I think a lot of the merch was really cool. They had like the Stranger Things Magic 8 Ball. It was super expensive, but you can expect that. They had like the Stranger Things themed D&D dice, which Connor got, and I think that's really cool. They are really neat looking. They had this little guy, which Connor and I each got one, and we kind of jokingly call them Noodle and Doodle. But it's a little Demogorgon little guy. They had Palace Arcade socks. They had Surfer Boy Pizza shirts and visors, which you can see online. And then here is like a popcorn bucket. They didn't have any popcorn, so they were filling these with snacks and selling them. The bucket itself, empty, was $5. From the photo booth, we took some photos. They had backdrops that were all themed 1986 and Stranger Things, which is super cool. And overall, the experience was a lot of fun. They had a phone booth, they had all of these things. It was a really cool experience. The biggest disappointment was just the food and drink selection not being there. I think another missed opportunity would have been the phone in the phone booth actually had a dial tone. I think it would have been really cool if they had like a mini phone book in there or something, so where if you dialed, like as an Easter egg, if you dialed a number for like Joyce's home, she would pick up, or, you know, there would be a pre-recorded message at the other end of the line. Just a thought if they were to do this again. Even the tabletops had like a theming of like the Eggo waffles. Everything was so well done. They had arcade games, like Dig Dug. Overall, I think it was an amazing experience and I really enjoyed it. These are just some things that I would let you know to be forewarned. It's such an expensive thing to pay for VIP and then just be given a can of Coke, essentially. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. I hope you've enjoyed seeing all my pictures and getting to hear some insight on my experience. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you flock and squawk again with me sometime. Bye!